Hey guys, it's Alyssa, and we're back to Truth Bites. That's the title of the podcast that I decided to call it. Um, I decided about a week ago when I really wanted to hit Facebook hard and just like upload stuff there and then Snapchat and stuff. And well, actually, no, Truth Bites came from Instagram because I decided oh, let me do some like quick little videos on Instagram because I do like Instagram because I do my art there, and honestly, I was just gonna call it Truth Bites as in like bits of of my truth or bits of what I think about things, and then I'm like truth bites as in like well the truth actually does like bites as in sucks like the truth sucks, so that's where that name came from if you ever wanted to know. But yeah, let's continue on. So honestly, uh, today was a cool day. I went to church, which was really, really amazing. And oh my gosh, I can't even describe how like amazing it was. Like it was actually a guest pastor. It was a female, and she, just what I needed. Long story short, um, I preference this podcast is also about spirituality, but I mean essentially, uh, like she literally used the parable of the wheat and the I'm forgetting. Oh, the wheat and the weeds. If you guys are not familiar with the Bible, that is when Jesus talks about different stories to relate to just common people, and it gives a picture of who God really is. And I was really like spending time with God the other night, and I was like, I really want to know more about you and more about your personality, because once you spend time with God and you really like when you like feel it and like he's there and you're just enjoying him, like you want to know more. Like it's really not as scary as it may seem. That's why it's so great that Jesus shows us that, yeah, like I was a baby. I know what it's like to feel vulnerable. I know what it's like to be a teenager. I know what it's like to, be, an adult. I mean, he wasn't old and wrinkly when he died, but he definitely knows pain and suffering. So it's really interesting. Anyway, the story about the wheat and the weeds, I'm not going to go into it, but basically, the main thing that I got out of it was that we God decides that he knows that there are bad things that happen in our lives. He knows that there are bad thoughts in our head, but he also knows that he's planted good things in our life. No matter who we are, we all have a piece of God in us, in our souls, and it's kind of like we're not all bad, but we're not all good. But the essential thing is that he lets both uh both sides of the coin live together. Literally in the parable, he says, "Let them grow together. Let the wheat and the weeds grow together." And later, I'm going to take out the weeds and burn them, and I will gather the wheat and bring them into the barn. Like, that's so freaking poetic. I'm just like, oh my God. And the pastor did a great way of explaining it. I could tell she was a little bit nervous, but like, it is kind of nerve wracking. I can imagine it being nerve wracking to preach because it's like, crap, like, you gotta preach, and so many people are looking to you to, really get a word from God. But anyway, that just really stuck with me and really calmed my mind about some things, because I tend to be very like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I'm just like, you know what? As long as I keep listening to the voice of God and listening to, okay, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of acceptance. I do love you. And you don't you're not in bondage to, like one of the things that I'm going to post on Instagram is a drawing, and it represents my addiction to pornography. And I know that's real rough. Like, you probably didn't expect that one there, but for years, like, legit has been a problem. And I'm gonna post a drawing that is kind of like a mix of that and my K-pop obsession. So essentially, if you don't know, on Instagram, I have a group that I made up in my mind, inspired by Dalshabet and 여자친구, which is also known as G Friend in English. And and I made up this boy group that is very effeminate, but they're very like powerful. But anyways, this so the pornography, kind of like part of my life is kind of it's gonna be like in this person, Chanyo, that's his name, and he kind of represents that part of me. And I'm gonna I'm gonna I've been like resisting to post it because it's like it's very personal and it's very like hard to really admit that, yeah, like I know in this day and age, like I guess it's cool to be very promiscuous and to be pretty much desensitized by sex and all this crazy stuff. And trust me, like I've seen a crap ton of stuff, so it's really hard to surprise me. But I'm just I there's also, that's the weeds part of my mind, but the weed part is that I'm actually quite a hopeless romantic. And it's kind of like I my favorite movie is literally Titanic. Like I can watch the whole, what is it, 4 hours. Like I've done it multiple times. The first time I watched Titanic, I cried all the way through, literally from the beginning. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna all die, when they're like waving and they're like, it's all like a happy scene. They're waving, about to leave the board. I'm like, oh my god, they're all gonna die. I'm literally crying. I'm like 10 years old, maybe even 9. I don't even remember. And then all the way at the end, spoiler alert, when Rose throws the blue necklace thing in the ocean, I'm like, oh my god, Rose. I literally I didn't know that she actually still had it. Like when she was an old lady. So that was the shock, and then the whole thing, it was dramatic. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. So I really value romance and love and tragedy and sacrifice, and I understand that romance is kind of part. It's kind of like a clue as in how much God loves us, and it's a part of how God wants us to be in a relationship with Him and to other people. So I mean, like, I don't know, I don't remember how I got into that, to K-pop, to all of that, but that's really important background. I'm about to say baggage. That's really important background, just to set the framework of, kind of who I am. And even though, yeah, I do struggle with pornography and lust, I know that other people do too, and some other people don't. But I know that so many people do, and I know that they're so ashamed to even talk about it or to even think about it. And honestly, I'm quite, like, for me, I'm quite sick of just getting all up in my own head, being like, oh my God, I'm so this, and I'm so hopeless, and I'm so dirty, or I'm so unworthy of love, or, God's forgiveness. But right now I'm like, I just really, I can't even bring myself to care anymore. I'm becoming more confident in myself. I mean, especially after my car accident. Oh my God. Like, if I survived running into a fire truck, like I feel pretty good about that. Like I think I'm supposed to be here for a reason, and like, and it's really a blessing in disguise, honestly, because now I like respect my life way more. I respect the grind that is being a human being and to have a sane mind. And after the obviously the Logan Paul stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, like it honestly, even though it's depressing if you look at it from like, oh my god, like human beings can go to um this length of not caring about others. It brings people like me, and also, like, I just saw, I kept getting this video recommended in my YouTube channel, on my YouTube account. Christian Grosso, Del Grosso. I'm not sure how to say his last name, but the title was "The Truth About Logan Paul," and I honestly like was trying to avoid that video for like, I was like, no, I'm not gonna watch the video. I don't know why YouTube keeps recommending me this video, but since I was watching a whole bunch of other reactions and thoughts of Logan Paul, because that's what I do when like bad things happen. I love to see people's reactions just to get a sense of like where people are like mentally and emotionally. But when I saw this guy was so real. It wasn't even really about Logan Paul too much. It was more about just people in general and people standing up to what they believe is right. And that's where I feel like I know a lot of people are kind of getting the hint. I know, after people are like, oh my god, 2018 is starting off so bad. Honestly, sometimes God will allow bad things to happen to bring us up and to make us really be like, okay, we got to step up and take responsibility for, our crap. Like, and that's real stuff, and yeah, some people are like, well, why can't God just do everything? Well, like that's not how he made us. Like, the one part of it is that we are images of, I don't know why I'm getting into this right here, but I might as well since he's putting this in my heart. The thing is that if you're a Christian or if you're not even a Christian, I'm just gonna say that, in the Bible, in Genesis 1, the first chapter, the first thing that he says about humans, like ever, is that we want to make them in our image. And I don't even want to get into who's our, like, if God's one entity, who's our. That's that's a whole different topic. It's the Holy Trinity, and it's the whole thing. But that, and along with being made in God's image, we have the choice to not do something and the choice to do something. And because of our choice, things will happen and things won't happen. It's kind of like how we're made. God decided to make us, so now we're made. But if he didn't decide to, then we wouldn't be made. Um, but I'm not saying that we're all like mini like gods, but I'm saying that we are a part of him. We're his children, and even though we have we have the ability to do stuff. Obviously, we cannot do it on our own. That's why we need to have a relationship with him. But we certainly can start somewhere. We can start with, okay, what do I believe in, slash, what did God place in my heart to care about, and how can I make that come to fruition? And for me, like, obviously, like I said before, I love art. I love like visual aesthetics. I love making people entertained. I love getting people to think outside of the box. I love to even shock people with, with art in a positive way, in a way that like maybe they would I don't know, if they're going through something, if they're holding, like, I guess coming back to the pornography thing, if they are, or not even just pornography, if they have guilt of, I don't know, like maybe sleeping around, or I don't know, masturbating, or so and so, they would not be so hard on themselves and just like, oh my god, I don't even know how to say this. Just realize that you're not don't keep listening to that voice of you're not good enough, you're not meant to be here. And oh my god, and the suicide, like that's the whole thing about the suicide too, you know, like people just lose hope and they don't believe that they belong on this earth. So that's just the whole thing. But yeah, again, like what I want to do, I just want to document my process of trying to, you know, if I had to put, you know, an image in people's minds, like I would love to have a talk show or just a fireside chat of just people coming together and talking about these things that really, really do matter. And like the physical stuff like monies and and I don't know what the hell, I don't know what the hell else people care about, cars and watches, phones, like all that stuff can change in a dime, but what you believe in is so much more impactful and so much more powerful. And I know that's so cliche, but like people don't really understand how important it is. So I figured that if we talk about it more, hopefully, you know, we can suffocate the excuse of, oh yeah, like even though, you know, we do have an option to stop stuff, we really can't stop stuff because of the government or because of, you know, my background or because of, you know, X, Y, and Z. Like, no, everybody can do something. Like that's why we're here, because we can do something. So yeah, that. And then of course, you know, like Asian culture, of course, you know, Logan Paul had to do this in the suicide forest of Japan. I actually didn't even know that existed before the controversy with Logan Paul. I knew that Japan had an extremely high suicide rate, and I know that Korea, I think, is has the fastest suicide rate in the world. And it's because, and there's a lot of reasons, honestly. If you watched Simply Jeet, Simply Jeet, oh god, what's that video? I think it's like 3 reasons why Asian youth are losing hope or something on the lines of that. He explains this so well, why Asian youth and people in general are committing suicide or are dealing with depression, because to summarize, like they're dealing with so much like pressure, societal pressure, and they care about what other people think too much. Just things like this. And that stuff can kill. Like I know that I've dealt with suicidal thoughts as well, and it's for real. Like it literally feels like something is like eating you alive inside. And it's really, really scary. So that's another one thing. That's another big thing that I really want to push out into the world, because I know that a lot of Asian culture, they don't like to talk about things. Everything is kind of like hush hush, and I'm like, forget that. Like no, that's not how we're doing this anymore. I don't care. No, I'm not gonna. Fine, I can embarrass myself all day long up here on this podcast, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Snapchat, on Snow, or wherever, Anchor here. I don't care. I can embarrass myself all I want to, but I know that I cannot stand by any longer and let people that I feel like, I just know that God wants them to know that that they're here for a reason. And you know, I know you're wondering, well, why Asian youth? Like why Asian people? I mean, honestly, it's probably because of like K-pop really like messed me up. Like really, like I feel so, because like I guess they work so hard and the music is so good. And honestly, I that's part of the reason why I'm even learning the language, because I feel so indebted to like them, like a lot of, especially Korea, you know, South Korea, but and that's and that's really bizarre and it's really vain. But you know, I guess we have to start somewhere. You know, like I'm not God. I'm not like, oh my gosh, let me help out the whole world. No, like I'm a person. Like I like Korean stuff because I like the music, okay? But obviously now it's turning into something way bigger. It's turning into something that that can help the world, and my passion for it, I believe, can uh, can very, very, very much help the youth in that area. So that's one thing. And then yeah, like the group that I have, it really is like a parody group off of 여자친구. So I called it 남자친구, which is boy, translates as be friend or boyfriend in Korean because they're boys. Honestly, before they were called club, CLUB, but that's I changed it to 남자친구 because when I listen to 여자친구, I'm like they just and like I kind of like see it in my mind. I like reenact stuff in my mind or in real life. I don't know. Like I'm really dramatic. I love to act and I love to like really imagine stuff. So when I watch like variety shows and music videos, I like to reenact them. So I like kind of replace the actual like G friend with my own group. It's so vain, but listen, when you're an introvert, you learn how to really enjoy spending time by yourself and you learn how to have a blast by yourself. But anyway, um so yeah, okay, so I've done like there's so much in my brain for this group, mainly because I watch so much of G Friend stuff. So like that's where most of my inspiration comes from, legit. Like I'll even say in the description in Instagram, like, hey, like I like this because of Kui the Gyuri Myeon, which is Love Whisper, or oh my god, Jugan Idol, Weekly Idol is my favorite variety show ever. Like it's so good because I love the like dumb guy humor that Donnie and Connie have, and it's just they just like pick at the idols, and I love it. It's so funny. But yeah, so this group, I mean, honestly, oh gosh, if I were to really be honest, like if I was to really be completely honest, I would love to have a K-pop group that was a guy group and they were feminine or androgynous. And I mean, you could say like I don't know if they're gonna be gay or not, but they could write songs that are about like gay love or heartbreak or what have you. But I would also want them to talk about like shoot, they can just talk about like real life. Like I'm not trying to like manage like what they talk about, but just have that little extra like quirky flavor in K-pop is I think definitely is needed because K-pop is getting really, 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 really dry. Even though I know about Tansuyeon that like they're very rap, hip hop, R&B oriented, and I really, truly like a beautiful moment. I know all the K-pop like if you don't know K-pop, you're probably gonna tune out by now. But if you do know K-pop, listen, best best moment in life, most beautiful moment in life, part one and part two, so good, so good. Like for real R&B, like flavor, and I love R&B, the R&B genre. But now they're kind of BTS, they're really just poppy slash very hip hoppy, and it's very, very flashy. And I don't know, like, when a show or when an artist or when a movie knows that it's famous and knows that it's popular and it tries too hard to stay that way. And it's just annoying. Honestly, it really is annoying. And I watch a lot of Gary Vee, and it's kind of like I kind of have the same sentiment as he does, which is like when something gets so popular, if I'm a fan of something that gets so popular, in his case like sports, like if he's rooting for a team that wins a Super Bowl, he's not interested anymore. And that's kind of what I think too. It's like if I'm like that's why I love rookie groups, like up and coming K-pop groups, because they are like little pure innocent babies and they're trying so hard to achieve stuff, and I just want to be like their mama that like supports them and be like, oh my god, you can do it, guys, you're doing so good. um like it's it's kind of like that. And but now BTS, like they got so big, and it's like, well, crap, you're grown up now. I guess you don't need me anymore. Like that's literally how I feel, and it's so sad. But it's like, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I really try not to hate on them. In my mind, like I don't hate on them like in actuality, but my heart like wants to be like, oh, like they're so popular, like get away from me. I don't want to see another V Live ad on BTS every time I watch a K-pop song or anything. Like I always see the same ad. I'm like, stop. I get it. V used to be my bias, by the way, my ultimate bias. Um, I think my ultimate bias now is probably it's a oh geez, it's a tie between Insung and Yujin for from Kanakan K. Oh my god, that group is my life. That's what I say now until like they're big. They came to KCON and that's really big, you know. I mean, I know they always get like rookie groups that are not as well known because they can't afford like every big K-pop group, but they came and I'm like, oh wow, they're getting big. Um, but yeah, mostly like most people that know about K-pop only know about Psy and BTS, which is just annoying because there's so many other good, great artists and that need support as well. But we'll see what happens. Um, but yeah, so I don't even know like how to even. I guess like I just have to treat this as like one step at a time. When it comes to me and this group that I have in my mind, 남자 친구, because because I see it so clearly in my. You know when you see something so clearly in your mind and you're like, oh my gosh, like why can't that be a real thing? Like this has been my whole life. Like I've always thought of like movies, um, and just not so much. Well, TV shows kind of, but I've always thought like about movies and like, oh, that would be a great movie. And I used to draw like scenes or like movie posters or characters, and I would do that so often because that's what I love to do. I love to imagine and create like characters and stories. So that's obviously it's carrying on in K-pop form now. But I've always done it. Uh, K-pop form. So yeah. So whew, I got a weight lifted off of me. Like I literally talked about my porn addiction. Like that's pretty big, and I might as well just talk about this too. Like I didn't. This may be TMI, honestly, but like as a girl, we're really not like really people don't think that we have any sex drive. I guess maybe like in a realistic lens, I guess people do, but like as a society, like people just don't think that girls like struggle with lust, but like we do. It's just not in the form like guys do. It's, but it's definitely a form. Like we always like fantasize about like hot Mr. Hottie and crap like that. But like and definitely people definitely well, I guess maybe more so now than ever, but typically people don't talk about like girls and masturbation and like that's people don't really think that's a thing, but it's a thing. And yeah, I ended up doing that too. The first time was on accident, so I know that's like how you do that on accident, but hey. But you know, I wanted to stop for like the longest time. And actually, right now, I haven't been doing it. But, that's another thing that I really felt guilty about because I'm like, oh, geez. Because, like, once you do it, it's hard to stop because people don't understand how powerful sex is. Like, even if you're not actually having, like, sex with a person, your brain doesn't really know the difference. It's like once you've been attached to something in that way, it it literally like binds you and connects you so strongly. So if you associate sex with something, then you'll most likely be binded to that. And I think that's another problem that I have with society, especially Western society, and even in Japan and Korea, because they're more westernized. Like they also kind of treat sex as like, okay, well, is what it is. Like people can do it. Okay. Like, and yeah, you can do whatever you want with your body, but I think we don't like to talk about how it's such a psychological, emotional thing, and it's not just physical. And I know that because it's just really like you can't separate. I don't even know how to say it. Like you just can't separate it. But I definitely don't believe in shaming people for doing stuff. Even though a part of my brain wants to, because I shame myself and therefore I have an inclination to shame other people and to judge other people. But I just want to end that cycle because it's a self-destructive cycle. It really is. And that's why people just end up not even talking about it, because once you once you get on a roll, it's hard to stop with the judgment and the shame and the guilt and the judgment and the shame and the guilt. But that's, oh Lord, like I don't even know how I'm doing this. Thank you God for thank you God for like keeping my mind sane, because I cannot believe I'm actually talking about this and I get to put it out in the world, and hopefully one of you guys can be brave enough to just be more self-aware of, maybe not even just like sex, but just in general. Like maybe you're struggling with something, because Lord knows I have other problems, that that I'm gonna get into, because like I said, I have the K-pop group that every member, there's only four, but every member represents a part of me, a good and a bad part of me. So hopefully you guys, can also do like self-reflecting and be like, maybe I don't have to feel ashamed of something that, be ashamed of this thing that I do, or this thing that I think about, as much as I thought I did, because the truth is that, like, oh, sorry, my, oh, I've been, guys, I'm not gonna lie, like, periods are not fun. Like, I hate to say that, but like, it's just true. Periods are not fun. Anyway, I don't know if you heard that growling, but that's what that was about. Anyway, Lord Jesus. So yeah, essentially that's the point. If you can take anything away from this, like madness of a talk, of a podcast, please consider consider that if little Alyssa can, be have the mustard seed of a faith to express myself, and to not care about with what you guys think about me, to a degree. Of course I do care, but to the degree that I can actually speak my mind, then hopefully you guys can be inspired to do the same thing as well. And that's all that anybody can really ask for of a person. And that's honestly the one of actually that's asking a lot of a person to to not care about what other people think. But I guess I can wrap this up. I mean, like, definitely look forward to that picture on Instagram. Oh, if you guys don't know, my Instagram handle is Alyssa underscore Monet underscore Mason. So it's ALYSSA underscore MONET. That's the French way of saying Monet, or writing Monet, and Mason MASON. And I'm not trying to get caught up in, what apps I do my art on. I just love to express my art, and Instagram just so happens to be the best place. And obviously Facebook, same thing, Alyssa Mason. So yeah, whew, that was a mouthful. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Like, y'all the best. Like, I love like this little anchor community. It's really, really fun. It is so much easier to do a podcast than to do a whole video, because trust me, been there, done that. I've done YouTube, done videos, done reaction videos. I had 1,000 some subscribers in a short amount of time, and I couldn't stand it any longer because I'm like, this is not fun. All they want me to do is freaking reaction videos, and here I can just talk about things that actually truly matter to me and things that can truly change the world I believe in, to change a person, one precious moment. One precious moment, wow. One precious person at a time. Guys, we're not perfect, but that's what makes us so precious in God's eyes, because we can depend on each other to to lift each other up and to make this world go round. Alrighty, y'all. I think I'm gonna call this a day. That's Truth Bites. All right, love you guys. 안녕하세요. 안녕.